Welcome to the Trading Sliders Podcast. Here we go, episode number 4 of the Trading Sliders Podcast. What's going on, Flash?
Not much. What you up to, Bobby?
Oh, not much. A long weekend again.
Yep.
We just recently just got in from West Memphis, Arkansas. Get into that. Get into the Dirt Track World Championship. Get into the Halloween 200 stuff. Lucas Oil's got a new schedule.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, we should have a pretty good show here. The show today is brought to you by, well, actually 2 people. If you've looked on if you follow us on all social media platforms, you see we got a new logo. And we're kind of biased because it's our logo, but we say it's pretty badass logo.
Yeah.
I want to say thanks to KJ Designs, Duncan. He's the one that initially came up with the logo with the graffiti and stuff because we're trying to do something a little different. And then we called up our buddy Walt at Speed Decals, and Walt added the cars and, really took care of us on this deal.
Yeah. So we should have some stickers coming out for too long.
Yeah, we have some stickers, maybe some shirts in the works. But today's show is being brought to you by Swafford Signs, our Speed Decals, known in the racing world. Walt is a big fan of the show. He reached out. He was one of the first guys to reach out after our first episode.
Yeah. And I've always had him do my cars, and man, he does an awesome job too of wrapping cars and stuff like that. He's a professional at that.
Yeah, if you listen to us in the Kentuckiana area and you don't know who Speed Decals is, look him up on Facebook, because every time you go to the racetrack, you say, "Damn, that car looks good."
Yeah,
it's because Walt lettered it. So,
yeah.
Big shout out to Walt, for taking care of us. This weekend, Flash, we talked about it last week, the Dirt Track World Championship. I think that's the big one. That's the one we probably need to start with.
Oh, yeah.
Going into it, we were kind of biased. We were kind of pulling for Ricky Thornton Jr. Just because, the guy leads the series the whole year. We don't want him to lose it like he did last year.
Right.
And everything worked out in the dirt late model world. Well, for him at least.
Yeah, for him it worked out really good.
Yeah. But, preliminary stuff for the Dirt Track World Championship, it started off with a banger Thursday night. I know there's some people kind of upset with the mod car count. They thought they were going to have a lot bigger car count.
Right.
Because last year, when we were up there was close to 80, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
But this time of year, with all the attrition, all the races being run, if you can get 45 good cars, you'll take that any night of the week.
Oh yeah, and they had a lot of good cars too.
Yeah, there's 45 really good cars, and that's what makes what Adam Stricker did, even more impressive. The mod race paid $5,000 to win. Adam Stricker, I think he's been running Super Late models all year. He's only been in his mod. Actually, it's named his mod. It's a buddy of theirs. He's only been in, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Started 16 and won the Dirt Track World Championship for the mod race.
Yeah, that was a heck of a race too. That was probably almost the best race of the weekend.
I think it was the best race of the weekend. Remy, Kyle Hammer, Troutman, Brian Rulin, everybody right there in the top 5 was racing all over the place. And what I really like about this is kind of go off subject a little bit, but what I really liked about that was, James Essex, the voice of the Lucas Oil Late Model Series, he, they had their track announcer, so he didn't have to do everything he did all weekend. But for the mods and the steel blocks, James Essex made sure, since they were going to be on flow, that he did his best and did his due diligence and make sure they got their shout outs and their love. And as a racing fan, thank you, James Essex.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. He sure helps the sport out a lot. Even the lower divisions, other than just the Lucas Oil.
Yeah, James Essex is a national treasure. The things he does, especially for around the Indiana area, but just racing in general. I mean, like we were talking, we're watching the race, and he's talking about Robert Valou, non-wing sprint car drivers, and his vast knowledge of racing. I thought that was one of the most entertaining things for me on the OL Door broadcast. Just because I'm a big fan of James Essex, and he really took care of the lower divisions.
He also, I want to give a shout out to Eldora because to be honest, the reason I didn't want to go up there was because I figured it was going to be a dust bowl. But man, they did a phenomenal job for not having no rain for as long as they have, and everything. The track was good all weekend. I mean, all the way to the end of the 100 lapper last night. Last night. So
I think when Tony Stewart said, "Hey, Levi Jones, I want you to come up here and take care of the racetrack."
Yeah.
Levi Jones was a gasser.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't like playing in the slick.
Right.
Which it did slick off, but, you had something to lean on all night.
Right, yeah. There was enough upper still at the end because
And Levi Jones, if that's how you're going to run Eldora Speedway, you've got two fans right here in the Trade and Sliders podcast, because the racetrack was phenomenal all weekend.
Yeah, it was.
It started out a little hammered down, but you kind of have to.
Yeah.
With that many cars and that many laps over a 3-day period. So
right, but it never really rutted up or anything either. It was nice. I mean, they was running all over the racetrack, and I didn't see them having to dodge holes or anything.
No. I think a couple of the modified guys bottomed out, but that's just because they're running so far down on the front. I mean, and let's be honest, the modified guys, it's not like they're running half-mile tracks every week unless you're running in Pennsylvania.
Right.
So they're, that's probably just more need to raise the cars up a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's all part of it. But in the mod race, though, Bryan Ruleman, when he got the lead and checked out, I was like, well, this one's over.
Yeah.
But not so fast.
Yeah.
Adam Stricker, like I said,
Kyle Hammer got up there first, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Hammer got up there, and Strimmy even got beside him a couple times.
Yeah.
I don't know, Ruleman, I think this car got tighter as racing went on. So I don't think it was a tire choice, because I'm pretty sure everybody had the same regular tire on.
Right.
By looking at the vented and the caps, everybody was running the same tire. So I don't think it was a tire deal, but a stagger or something closed up, because as the racing went on, the car got tighter and tighter and tighter. So,
yeah.
But man, Bryan Ruleman's getting a little older. He may not like us saying this. He may just got tired now.
Yeah.
Because 25 laps around the door is hard.
Yeah, it is. Well, especially when you're having to race the whole 25 laps,
Yeah, he had guys taking shots at him every lap. So
yeah.
I think the mod race, like I said, I think it was the best race of the weekend. Now the steel block heat races were pretty entertaining.
Oh yeah.
They were racing all over the racetrack, but when it come feature time, there was no question in that. It was it was all Tyler Carpenter.
Yeah, he a couple of restarts there. He had to make 2 or 3 restarts to or not restarts, initial starts.
Yeah.
When he drove through the middle of them that one time and had them by 2, 3, 4 car lengths by the end of the straightaway, and then they got that one called back.
Well, that was funny, because we were at Riverside, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But we sitting here watching it. And we're the type of people who's got our phones and tablets in the bleachers while we got downtime at the racetrack. So we're those assholes. But no, all jokes aside, but we were watching it, and Flash told me, he goes, well, I bet they don't let him do that again.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, it went green. It was like a mirror image.
Yeah. He did it again.
Yeah, he did it again. So much for not letting him do that again.
Yeah, and then when he got to the end, I mean, he ran there the whole time. It was fairly close the whole time. And then when he got out there pretty good ways for a while, and then they had a caution. But then they had a couple of restarts there. And I know he had to be getting tired of the restarts. I think they had 3 or 4 restarts there with like 2 to go. And he had to... Yeah, he had to just he had to be perfect every time almost.
Yeah, and he had to fend off another fellow West Virginian.
Oh yeah,
in Burdett. Burdett was throwing. He would actually. I thought Burdett really was gonna have a shot at him on the restart when when Carpenter went all slow, but Burdett kind of spun the tires on the front stretch and lost all his momentum going into one. But he turned underneath of him going down the front stretch. I thought, he's got a shot. But when he did, he scrubbed off all of his speeds.
Yeah,
and screwed up his entry in turn 1. But Tyler Carpenter got the 5K win for the Steel Block Late Model Series, and then it was time for the big one, the granddaddy of them all, the Dirt Track World Championship, $100,000 to win, and the final race of the Lucas Chase, and it was a very entertaining race there for a while. All the way up till the end. I thought Tim McCready was going to pull it off.
Yeah.
Davenport passed him there, then Davenport broke, and when Davenport broke, we were sitting there kind of talking. It's like, well, Ricky Thornton Jr., it was his race to lose then for sure.
Yeah.
Which, it was pretty much his to lose all weekend anyways. But
right. And then when he jumped the cushion, he just about did lose it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Ricky Thornton Jr. is like, man, I'm going for the win, and put it in the wall about 30 laps to go.
Yeah, I think when he hit the wall, he might have rethought trying to win it. I think he thought, then now it's time to concentrate on what I got here to do.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm here to win the championship, so we won't say he just rode, but he raced a smart race. He points raced the last 30 laps.
Yeah, which is a good thing to do when you're running for 200,000. So.
Yeah. But who didn't points race, who didn't have to points race, was Bobby Pierce. Bobby Pierce was a man on a mission. Didn't look too good in his heat race on the preliminary night.
Yeah.
But man, in the feature, he just started rolling and picking them off. And he started 14th. And so the Dirt Track World Championship Modified starter started 15th. And the late model started 14th. So if anybody's got any complaints about the Dirt Track World Championship this weekend, don't go to Eldora.
Yeah.
It's about as good as you can get.
Yeah, you're not going to get much better than that. The guys come from mid-pack to win the thing,
Yeah, especially in the field of late models that they had. I think they had 67 or something like that, 61.
Yeah.
But there was not anybody who didn't belong there.
Yeah, you got the best late models in the country there. I mean, that's that's what they go there for.
Yeah, it was a really good race, and like I said, RTJ got to finish third. Second was T-Mac, and what a lot of people are saying, quite possibly he's the last go around for T-Mac.
Yeah.
I seen today on a couple, quote unquote news reports that they're not even going to go to Charlotte. They're going to regroup for next year. So
okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what regroup for next year means. I know a lot of people are saying that Josh Richards and Brandon Shepard are kind of getting back together, and I don't know if they're going to do a 2-car team or I've even heard rumors of a crew chief driver row. So
right.
But hopefully T-Mac lands on his feet, because I think the last month T-Mac showed that it's
oh yeah, he can still get it done.
Yeah. There's no worrying if T-Mac still has got it. He still got it. But the news coming out of Eldora happened right before the Dirt Track World Championship. Lucas Oil, there's been some, rumors. Nobody's really know what they're doing because the title sponsor was leaving, so to speak. Well, they've got a dual title sponsor now. Lucas Oil stayed on board, but it's a Lucas Oil Late Model Series presented by Flow. It's a 4-year deal. Flow Racing has, I don't think they've bought stake in it yet, but they know what the value is
right.
of the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series, and with Flow comes more money, and the point fund next year is going up to $1.3 million point fund.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
For short track racing, dirt late model. That's insane to think for a couple guys like us that grew up racing for a couple $100.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane to think they're racing for $1.3 million.
Yeah, that's a pretty good chunk of change for those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they spend more than that a year. But that helps offset the cost, and tries to keep more people in the running for the points,
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think part of that increase is, so this year they had 17 guys that went to every Lucas Oil Late Model show. So they used to do like the top 12 in points got tow money.
Right.
If you make every show. Next year they're going to the top 15 if you make every show. If you made every show this year, if you made every show this year, which kind of is letting the secret out of the bag, I think a couple of those guys, because they had 17 of them do it, and they said next year it's going to be the top 15.
Right.
So I think we might have a couple guys dropping off tour full time.
Yeah.
But if you made every show this year, when you pull in the racetrack, it's $1,000 show up money plus whatever you make, regardless. Right. And I think that even works if the races get rained out. If you go to the racetrack, you get your $1,000 show up money.
Yeah.
So hats off to Lucas Oil for doing that, helping the guys get up and down the road, because
right.
One of the biggest expenses is just travel alone.
Oh yeah. You figure fuel, and you got to eat while you're out, and
yeah.
And
we we go in. This week's guest in the deep dives is Buffalo, Kentucky's Bryan Barber, and we go into this later on in our conversation about the cost of racing as being a chassis builder. But shout out to Lucas Oil for what they're doing. I think their schedule next year is really diverse. There's a couple things on there that some people are really kind of upset about, or Tyler County, West Virginia doesn't have the Hillbilly 100 next year. It's been moved to Lernerville.
Right.
To me, nothing says the Hillbilly 100 like going to central Pennsylvania. I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't understand.
I don't understand that. Let's just go right outside the city of Pittsburgh and have the Hillbilly 100.
Yeah.
But that's not our decision to make.
Right.
That's Carl Shorts. That's the same guy that runs the Dirt Track World Championship. So he can do what he wants. But one thing that I really like about the schedule is Circle City. We've been a big advocate talking about how great Circle City's been doing. They have a Lucas Oil Late Model Series race next year.
Yeah, and that's awesome for our local area anyway.
Yeah, that means the greatest late model drivers in the country are going to be there on the bull ring, battling on the quarter mile. So
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that.
That should be an awesome race right there.
Well, I think it's I don't have the schedule right here in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's a Circle City and Florence back to back. So
yeah.
You got two totally different styles. That's both close for us. So
right, yeah.
Selfishly, we're happy about that. Yeah. So a few more races this weekend. Like I said, we went down to Riverside Speedway for the World Short Track Challenge, $10,000 to win.
Yep.
I think it was my third or my fourth time being at the racetrack. I think yours.
Yeah, I think it was my third time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got rained out one time. We was there, but we got rained out. So
again, we've talked about it before. Riverside Speedway in West Memphis, Arkansas.
Yeah,
we made the trip to the ditch. If you haven't been there, make the trip to the ditch.
You need to make the trip there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little quarter mile. It gets a big cushion. They got a catch fence that they use.
Oh, yeah.
lot.
Yeah, they use the catch fence there for sure.
Yeah, they use the catch fence.
But they're also really good at fixing it. I mean, they had work on the fence twice last night, and I don't think it took them over 10 minutes either time to get it fixed. Yeah.
And the second time, I thought it was going to be a while.
Yeah.
Because he tore down half the fence on the backstretch, it seemed like, when he got up into it.
Yeah.
But the 360 sprint cars for the ASCS and the USCS at the Short Track Challenge. This is the third annual, but really it's the first annual because the first two happened 30-something years ago.
Right.
So it's something that they're trying to mesh back together and make this like a... It will never be the 360 Knoxville Nationals by any means. But I think it has a shot to be the second biggest 360 race in the country.
Yeah, I believe so.
At a very badass racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you actually have to drive the cars.
Yeah.
There's no...
Yeah, it was a very entertaining race last night. It wasn't...
Yeah, it was, like I said, the heat races were good. We had a phenomenal heat race. Like, we almost had a race of the year candidate going.
On Heat 3,
On Heat 3. But... Like we said, the catch fence.
Yeah.
So as we had the top four guys trading sliders lap after lap, and then the catch fence kept the back three guys in the racetrack.
Yeah.
They tried their damnedest to get over to the ditch outside of turn number 4. I mean, it was almost chance for a race of the year in a heat race. I mean, it was phenomenal.
Yeah. Trading Sliders podcast. That's the reason we like that, because they were trading sliders.
Yeah, I mean, slide job after slide job.
It actually looked like a midget race almost. I mean, with wings, it was pretty incredible.
Like, to me, I felt like it was one of our video games, except for they didn't run into each other.
Yeah.
That's the shit we try, except for, usually Jackson Barber puts me on my lid in the middle of it. But seriously, though, I mean, it was a great, great show. Nice crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for the cool night. It was really cool. I don't think Friday's crowd was that big. I watched it on Their Vision after we watched the stuff at Eldora, and Friday's crowd was a little light, but 57 cars and the preliminary night, and I seen when the racetrack made a big post. They were super happy and looking forward to make this event bigger and better. And I tell you, who else wants them to bring it back every year is Derek Hagar.
Oh yeah,
Derek Hagar. We talked about him last week about winning the flip flop. He was the first guy in the history of 36 years.
To win both races.
Yeah, he won both races. He won the first race from the pole, which everybody's like, oh, well, I mean, if you start on the pole, you should. Yeah, well, he started 22nd in the second race and won that damn thing, too. But one thing cool about the ASCS and this, when they did their dash, so the drivers drew, you drew your number, and you didn't, that's not where you started.
Yeah.
You was able to give your number to whatever driver you wanted. And you couldn't give it to them. They couldn't get the number twice. They could only give a number once.
Yeah.
And I think they all got together and said, we're going to give Derek Hagar and Sam Hampertine the 5th and 6th place, so make them earn it. And so Hagar started 6th in the dash, passed one car in the dash. So he started 5th in the feature, and he earned it.
Oh, yeah.
He earned it. Like I said, the track slicked off, and, well, let me rephrase that. According to the guy behind us, the track was terrible and slicked off. From where we come from, it still had a cushion and it was hammered down, and we didn't get no dust on us.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
No, so the track slowed down. It didn't slick off. Yeah,
we could have wore a white T-shirt last night, like you said, and been fine.
yeah. Like, only place in America, the ditch. The only place in America you can wear a white T-shirt and white tennis shoes to the racetrack, and you don't got to change your shit before you get in the car to come home.
Yeah.
It's all good. But the track slowed down in the middle, and Hagar started rolling in the middle, and then they kind of migrated down to the bottom. Everybody migrated down to the bottom, but two cars. Sam Hampertine decided, piss on it. I'm throwing balls to the wall, and he ended up running third. But the kid that we talked to when we got there at the racetrack, Kurt and I, we went in the pits, and we're just kind of, hanging out, so to speak. And, we can walk up and look, everybody's busy working, so we're not trying to, interrupt nobody. And we get to the very back of the pits, and there's this long-haired kid. Looks like he's in the band for 9 Inch Nails or Shine Down or something. He's got hair down to the middle of his back. And he comes out and says, hey, how you guys doing? And shook our hand and stuff. We're like, oh, we're doing good. And I said, you drive this thing? You know, hell, I thought he's a crew guy. I don't know how old he is. I didn't get to ask him, but he looks like he's a young kid.
Yeah.
He might be 18.
Right, yeah.
Maybe. And his name is Christopher Torkelson. And he goes, yeah, I drive this thing. And I said, well, how'd you do last night? And this is what I really, really like this kid. He goes, well, I mean, I was running really good in the B main. I had a shot, but you know, I'm not gonna say I got scared, but it was up on the wall and I kind of pussed out. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I was just joking with him. Me and Flash was like, well, don't puss out tonight.
Yeah.
And Flash, he didn't.
No.
He started 17th and got up to 7th, I think, at one time, 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
Just ripping the cushion, but then he got over aggressive. He may have listened to us just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And got up on the wall. Then come back down, and I was like, well, he's going to slow down now. No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Took him about 3 more laps. Then he got up in the fence with the right rear. Then he slowed down.
Yeah. But he was getting it all had, though. He was driving the wheels off that thing.
Yeah, but Christopher Torkelson, or Townsend, I can't even pronounce his damn name. Christopher Townsend, Torson, I don't know. I'm gonna message him. And but this kid is solid. He's out of Texas. He's gonna be a hot shoe in the wing sprint car world. Yeah. He reminds me a lot of the non-wing guys we see in Indiana. Yeah. You know, the wing sprint cars, they kind of go in straight. Not him.
Yeah.
he gasses it up and
slings it in there.
Yeah, throws it in there. So, but it was a really, really entertaining race. Like I said, Derek Hagar took the lead with about 5 laps to go. And when he did, you would thought Sammy Swindell or Jeff Swindell or Stenhouse, you know, because they all grew up racing there. Yeah. You would have thought they took the lead. Everybody in the bleachers jumps up.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. First time the whole night, the guy behind me that was sucking on the vape didn't hit me in the face because he jumped up cheering. But you know, all seriousness though, it was a really good race, and Derek Hagar swept the weekend. So I think he's won 5 out of the last 7 races there. Yeah, and 4 of those were all you know, big paying events. For the guy that's from Arkansas, I think he lives 10 minutes from the track. Yeah, that's so you know, a local guy took on the national tour. Jordan Mallett ran second, and Sam Habertine Jr. Finished in third. And like I said, Habertine, he was giving it all it had. I mean, he really couldn't give it no more, you know, unless you wanted to put it out of the ballpark. Yeah. But very exciting trip. We took the wives with us since they let us go, you know, do all this. And we spent the day in Bill Street in downtown Memphis and went to Bass Pro.
Yeah, in the Pyramid Building.
Yeah, guys, if you're in the Memphis area or you're making a trip out west and you're crossing Memphis, it's really easy to get to right off the expressway. Yeah. Go check out the Bass Pro. They're no sponsor or anything, but the place is cool as hell.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's got a hotel in it.
Yeah, it's got a hotel. It's got an observation deck.
Yeah, it's got 2 observation decks up there. Yeah.
It's got I don't even know what kind of damn fish it was. What was that big fish that was swimming around?
They got sturgeon in there swimming around. I mean, like 6 foot long sturgeon.
Yeah,
so
they're. I thought it was a damn shark.
Yeah, they got alligators in there.
Yeah, they got alligators. I mean, it's
kind of like going to the zoo.
It's but the Bass Pro around us is nothing like the Bass Pro in Memphis. I'll tell you that. Yeah. But you know, we had a good time. Like I said, I ate barbecue for 2 straight days. So really good food at the racetrack. Another thing, the food at Riverside International, they got pulled pork nachos. That was once you get south of Tennessee, they have different types of food at the racetrack. Yeah, and the pulled pork nachos were really good. So overall, it was a good trip.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, we spent the day in Memphis. Made a day out of it. Went to the casino.
Yeah, well, yeah, except for the stop at the casino.
Yeah, So the casino was nice.
It was beautiful inside. It was nice.
The security lady that was going to chase my wife down because she set off the alarm. Yeah. She was super nice. She didn't tell me which way to go to win. Yeah. But that was the best thing about the casino. Yeah. Even the free Cokes, they were out of ice. Yeah. even the Coke machine was down. But we didn't win nothing at the casino, unfortunately.
We had fun though.
But we had fun. It was a good trip. Nice 1-day trip to Arkansas, because that's kind of what we do. Yeah. Here at the Trading Sliders podcast, we might just decide, that's only 300 miles away. Let's go. So
we might not have plans till Friday night.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was we had plans, but we didn't know if we were going to go to Eldora or go down and support the World Short Track Challenge. So, Friday night, I guess, is around 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, all right, Flash, I'll see you in the morning, and we'll head that way. So, it was, like I said, it was a good trip, good time. Weather was nice. It was a little cool, but overall, it was really good. A few more race events I want to talk about before we get into our deep dive session. The Iowa Dirt Car Nationals. Usually, we don't talk about something we didn't see, but this weekend, we're going to talk about two things we didn't see. Just because of car counts alone, the Iowa Dirt Car Nationals had 236 cars after the IMCA event. And the mod race was won. I think they had 49 IMCA mods, and the mod race was won by Brandon Schmidt out of Wisconsin. But the main reason why I'm talking about the Iowa Dirt Car Nationals, we always want to promote good racing.
Yeah.
But Dallin Murdy picked up the win in the stock car feature. I think they had 49 stock cars. But it was Dallin Murdy's 27th feature win of the year.
Man.
So shout out to Dallin Murdy, especially after that nasty wreck he had earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But that Team Harris car, they built a new one, and our Dallin Murdy, I'm sorry, I think he put on Twitter that he's the race season was supposed to be done, but he's going to Marshalltown this weekend coming up. But he's got to find a couple more races because he's going for 30 in the stock car this year. Which I think he's got 37 wins or something like that. I think he's won 10 in the mod, but
yeah,
he's trying to get 30 in one division. So, shout out to Dallin Murdy. And another one we want to talk about real quick was the Circle City. They had the Spooky 150 up there. We mentioned them last week, but they ended up with 229 race cars at Circle City for a one-day show.
Yeah,
it's not a 2-day show. This is a one-day show.
Right.
At Circle City, and Ryland Gray picked up the win in the steel block sprint cars. I think they had 17 or 18 of them. But they had 26 mods. And Dylan Nussbaum out of Warsaw, Indiana, regrouped from tearing his stuff up at Eldora the night before.
Yeah.
He was involved in a wreck at Eldora, tore the nose and stuff off of it. But Dylan Nussbaum picked up the feature win there. And a guy that's going midget racing next year, full-time. I don't think he's going USAC, but he's going full-time to like the Midwest Thunder. Stuff. Joey Paxton picked up the All-Star TQ midget. It was the memorial race that got rained out about a month ago, and it was 44 laps. Oh yeah. And Joey Paxton picked up the win there. So, a big shout out to Circle City. I think that's it about. Oh no. One more thing about Salem. We don't know who won the Halloween 200 because it's going on as we're recording this.
Yeah.
But we want to give a big shout out to Chase Adams for winning the Spooky 200-ish.
Yeah.
Because the time limit came up. And I think
it was about 130, something like right around there. 130 laps.
Yeah, 130 laps or so. And there was two pretty bad wrecks. There was a bunch of wrecks.
Yeah.
There was a couple of wrecks. We haven't heard how the guys are doing, and we're not going to speculate and talk about it. But, thoughts and prayers to everybody involved.
Yeah.
Safety is one thing that, we harp on a lot because, we've been race car drivers.
Yeah, when you build race cars, so
I build cars, and
I've always built my own cars too. So,
but I mean, you've broken a wrist in the race car. I've broke a sternum. So
we try to pay attention to that stuff as much as we can.
So this is not the time, but later on in one of our episodes, we're going to get into race car safety. Because, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but there's certain cars that shouldn't be running certain type racetracks.
Yeah.
But that's something for a winter show when we don't have some really good interviews or anything.
Right, yeah.
So that's something. But, shout out to the 88 cars that took to the high banks like the old.
Like the old
days.
Like the old Halloween 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've both been a part of a couple of those 100-car races before. So, Chase Adams picked up the win, and one thing I want to say about the whole weekend up there, I know a lot of people have a good time camping and stuff, but a big shout out to Dylan Kalin. He's a supporter of the show. He's one of the first guys that when we posted the first episode, messaged me and was like, "Man, I really love this." But our buddy Dylan Kalin took home the championship this year. Yeah. In the Ford Crown Vics on the half mile, and that's not easy to do.
Oh no.
Anything you run on the half mile at Salem, it's not your average racetrack.
No. It's a little hard on equipment, and
It's hard on everything.
You got to dodge a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's hard to dodge up there.
Yeah. So, but so went to the time limit. And Chase Adams picked up the win, and maybe on next week's show, we'll talk about the Halloween 200 a little bit once we get a chance to look at it and watch it. But that's it on our end on the races for the weekend, and we're gonna get into the deep dives. Anything you want to say, about the weekend? What we covered before we do our deep dives with Buffalo, Kentucky's Bryan Barber?
I don't think so. We pretty much covered about everything. I mean, it was another good weekend at the racetrack. I know that.
Yeah, weather was beautiful. Hell, it was 80 degrees today on the way home.
Yeah.
So.
And it, like I said, we was there, no dust. The wives didn't have to gripe about that, so that was good.
Hell, the only thing they bitched about was the bleachers.
Yeah.
And not because they were bad, because they were tall.
Yeah, well, that's probably me more than anybody. I'm the one that's scared of heights.
Yeah, Kurt, newsflash, Kurt pulled a calf muscle walking up the bleachers this weekend.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into the deep dive session next with Buffalo, Kentucky's Bryan Barber and Bandit race cars, and I think you guys will really, really enjoy this. And then we'll come back at the end. It's time for the Trading Sliders deep dives presented by Kentucky Clutch and Performance. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week's guest is none other than Buffalo, Kentucky's Bryan Barber. How you doing, Bryan?
Good, Bobby. Thank you for having me.
No problem. We're sitting here in this beautiful shop, in the Bandit race cars. You don't have a car on the jig right now, but you got cars on jack stands. You got parts everywhere. Season's winding down. First off, how's the season been?
We've had a good season. We debuted this new car this year, the Bandit Royal Edition, and it's treated us pretty good so far. We don't race near like we used to, but we've been able to tally up quite a few wins, and actually probably going to break my season's best in wins. So it's been a good year.
Don't worry, we're going to get into the we don't race like we used to conversation, because I tease Jackson all the time. And a lot of people don't know, Jackson is Bryan's son, and he's going to be the next generation of barbers to start racing. I don't know when, because I don't know if Grandpa's going to allow it, or I don't know if I can push Dad along a little bit, but we're going to try. But Bandit race cars, we were talking before we went on air, 1995 is when you built your first car.
Yeah. 96.
96. Yeah. And you went, in 98 you decided, I'm pretty damn good at figuring out these things, so we're gonna sell some race cars. So, how's it been over the years? Because, that's a long time to be building and racing race cars.
It was getting going, honestly. This was kind of my dad's thing. It's what he wanted to do for quite some time, and in 96, I was just a snot-nosed kid graduating high school. So I wasn't big into the working real hard on these things then. I played sports and stuff in school, and I love competition. So the challenge was it was something that I always felt like I would be up to, but had never gotten behind the seat of anything really. And we kind of built this thing, and I got going right after I graduated there in 96. So, as the years went on there, and we started getting a little interest in stuff. So then we started building a few, and back then, we had mainly local people buying stuff, because we used to have a lot of local racing, which we don't anymore. So.
No, we sure don't. We're going to discuss that too.
Yeah. So I don't want to get ahead of it.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, this was your dad's vision, and still today, Butch, at the racetrack, he'll weld on anybody's car, he'll fix stuff. I think it was Beckley, West Virginia, for the Cumberland Plateau race, and your dad was working on somebody's car, somebody else's car. So, I get that, because my dad, still to this day, he can't go like he used to. But my dad, he was just at my house last week working on my bead roller for me, because the foot pedal was screwed up, and so it's great to be able to do this stuff with your family. You said you was a little snot-nosed kid, didn't want to work real hard, and I've teased Butch at the track before. It's like, we're gonna get Jackson in a car. He's like, not until Jackson starts working on these damn things, we're not. So
sometimes it takes the part of, I was just a typical teenage kid, doing teenage things, and that's the age Jackson's at. But he he loves people and he loves this racing like no other. He's probably my dad's very, very passionate about this sport, and Jackson, he's probably right there with him. They outweigh me as far as that goes. You know, I love it, and I love helping people, and I love the competition. But as far as the passion for it, they probably outweigh me.
Yeah, Jackson reminds me a lot as far as knowledge-wise when I was 15, 16 years old. Except for when I was 15 years old, my dad had me welding cages in cars. So, but I mean, he's a really good kid, and that's something, you know, you and Butch should both be proud about. His knowledge for not just dirt late model racing. I mean, he watches sprint cars, and you know, he watches everything. And you know, I tease him all the time. We play the video game together, me and a bunch of the young kids. And you know, I'm not young anymore by any means, but you know, hanging out with them at night, you know, kind of makes me young again at heart. And you know, I give him crap all the time, but he's such a good kid, and you know, you and Butch should be proud of, you know, of the kid that you're raising.
Yeah, he is. I'm very lucky. You know, he's a great kid, so yeah. I'm very blessed with that.
Yeah. So I know you've been on record saying that, you know, your racing career is winding down. You tell me all the time, this might be it. This might be it. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. Really, how close is it getting? Because you're still winning at a high level. I mean, you know, like you said, you don't race as much anymore. But you know, who really does right now? And you know, the way everything costs. So
right. Yeah, it's you know, for me, it's real close. I've kind of got a thought there in my mind, and usually if that's where it's at, that's what I do. Yeah. So, you know, I love racing. I'm never going to get away from the sport. It's what I love. You know, when I'm racing, obviously, you know, I go to win. I'm a competitor. But man, if people's got my car and stuff, it's just as much pleasure for me to see them do well and run good. And I mean, I'm probably a better crew chief than I am a driver.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. You're a pretty damn good driver.
Well, you know, it goes hand in hand. I've for lack of a better way of putting it, I guess my ass has got a good relationship with my brain. Yeah. So I kind of know what I want, and that helps me. And, you know, you've got I'm not a young kid anymore. This is a young kid sport, and but sometimes being a veteran, it outweighs some of that young gung-ho stuff. So
that's
it's a balance.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into, because, you know, you're always, you know, you run with the series that I work for, you know, the Cumberland Plateau Oval Modified Series. You don't run for the championship no more, but you know, you hit races. And, you know, a few weeks ago we were at Rockcastle Speedway, and it was after a week. They had about 6 inches of rain, and the racetrack was cowboy up, and I remember teasing with you before the races. I said, well, tonight's going to be your night. And you're like, I like it slow and slick. And I've been on record as saying this, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but you may like it slow and slick, but when it's got character and hammer down, and you can, you know, outmaneuver the young kids by missing the hose, I think that's when you're at your best. So maybe you don't want to hang it up just yet.
Well, yeah, you know, that's just experience. I definitely would argue that's not my best scenario. But yeah, you know, I'll try to search the path that I feel like is going to get me to the finish, and then try to push it as hard as I can there.
Well, see, that's where the experience comes in, because those young kids will just run through the hose, and you know, you'll run around the hose. So, you know, when you do decide that, you know, it's over, you know, will there be a Bandit house car, or is it just going to be strictly working on cars for other people, or how's that going to go?
Possibly, you know, there's a few scenarios I've thought about. You know, obviously, at some point, you know, Jackson's going to get a turn. So how that is and how that starts, whether, you know, in this sport, it's usually one of two things. He's going to love it or he's going to hate it. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you're in trouble. He's going to love it.
Well,
I can tell you that right away.
I don't know. You know, it can go either way. There's also nothing wrong with, you know, being involved with the sport and not being a driver. So, you know, I don't, this racing's hard. You know, it's a hard gig to pull for years and years and years. It's hard on family. It's hard on people just in general. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean,
I tell people all the time, racing is a relationship maker or breaker. You know, like my wife and I, you know, when we got together, you know, her father raced, so she knew a little bit about racing, but she didn't know nothing about racing 4 nights a week, and that's what I did. I mean, I raced 4 and 5 nights a week. I mean, in '01, I think I raced 92 nights in 1 year. So, you know, I told her, I said, this is what I do, and you know, if we're going to work out, this is what we're going to do. And you know, so it's hard on families, especially like, you know, Jackson. I know he's in sports, so it is hard. But I tell people all the time, families that race together stay together. I mean, they are there thick and thin. They may cuss each other out at the racetrack, but by the time you get home, you don't forgot about that, and you're on to, you know, how we're going to make this better. So, you know, my mom and my dad got a divorce when I was a kid, and you know, my mom didn't want no part of racing, because obviously that was one of the main reasons. Like they still get along great today, but racing put such a stress on the family, and you know, like I don't know there's any other way, and I'm sure you're the same way. Like I know it might be getting closer to the end, but is there any other way besides, you know, working on race cars and racing?
You know, it's what I know and what I love. It's the people I love to be around. You know, some people at the races may not think that because I'm a quiet guy. You know, when I'm at the track, I'm generally there. It's business for me. You know, it's not as much about fun. Jackson is the outgoing people likes to talk to everybody, and you know, I'm more to myself and mind my own business. You know, if anybody needs anything from me, they know they can ask me, and I'll do whatever. But you know, when I go, it's business for me. It's serious.
Well, and one thing I've noticed too is it's not so that you're standoffish. You're always thinking. You're always thinking at the racetrack, how am I going to make this better? Do I need to take some rounds out here? Do I need to lower this bar? Do I need to raise this bar? What am I going to do on tires? And you know, a lot of these young kids nowadays, they just get in the car and drive the shit out of it. They don't, you know, it don't matter to them, you know what. So you're always thinking. And, you know, some people get a bad rap. Well, he's not real sociable. Well, I mean, you're not there to make friends. I mean, you know, there's always saying in racing, a lot of times you take your friends to the track with you. So,
right.
I mean.
That's right. You're generally traveling with them, going home with them. So that's right.
So, you know, there's a possibility that there's going to be a Bandit house car. I hope that Bandit race cars don't go away. I know this year you guys tried a different, did a collaboration, so to speak. And it seems to be working out good. I mean, you know, you said you're in the process of, you know, getting as many wins as you may have ever had in 1 year. And I know you've got some drivers out there in the cars that are, you know, that are doing well too. So, you know,
I have no plans of quitting building cars. You know, I plan to be doing this as long as I'm able, and as long as racing's healthy enough to support, you know, being able to do it. And it's like I say, I love helping people. It's probably one of the biggest challenges I've ever had, because I drive and I can relate, but some things I can't relate because not everybody's got a style like me, and you know, that makes it that even piques my interest more, you know, trying to learn that about people. So.
Well, I can see where that could be an issue because, you know, you're a keep the car straight, don't bind the car up kind of racer. And I can see where you're helping these kids and they fly off in the corner and they're sideways standing on the gas and they're saying, I want the same shocks as you. Well, we drive different styles, so the same shocks isn't going to work. I could see where that could be challenging and fun all at once, you know, especially being as competitive as you are.
Yeah, it is. I love it. You know, it's I like to work my brain. You know, it's good for me, and trying to translate what trying to tell them, just, you know, experience stuff on, just like you're saying about how to drive through the holes and those kind of things. You know, that's just something that nothing outweighs experience. And, you know, being able to try to share those things with people and helping them with those things, and just like I say, just making them better. That gives me a good feeling.
Well, Bandit race cars, like I said, it's been around for a while, and especially back in the late 90s, I always associated Bandit race cars with just basically being the best looking modifieds around. I mean, y'all's roofs were a little bit lower, the bodies were a little bit wider. Back in the 90s, they looked like what IMCA cars look like now, when everybody else had straight boxes. Yours was always tricked out. So I know you went late model racing a little bit. Is that something that you kind of regret that you didn't get to do more of? Because your driving style is really a late model driving style. So
yeah, I really loved the late model stuff. Kind of jumped there pretty quick. And had some success with it. Decent success, and as we started gaining a little hay here in the mod class, and actually my wife at the time, she'd gotten pregnant with Jackson, and I just kind of decided it's time to switch gears here and get back to what is gonna provide, and concentrate on that more. And yeah, the late models, the speed of them and all that, that always I like that better. And that's why I love, like, a lot of people don't like sprint cars, but that's why I love watching the World of Outlaw sprint cars. Man, that speed just gets me. So
well, I'm just gonna put this out there: if you don't like sprint cars, you're not a race fan. But I'll say that's not Bryan Barber saying that. That's Bobby Puckett from Trading Sliders. Okay, if you do not like sprint cars, you are not a race fan, because they're fast, they're loud, they're unpredictable. So, like, if you know somebody don't like sprint cars, send them my way. I'll change their mind.
Yeah, my dad actually, when I was young, he raced a mini sprint there for a while, and actually dabbled in the sprints a little bit, and I just I love the speed of those things. It's just if you've got the need for speed, that's it.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because Jackson, I always tease him and stuff, and he's always like, "You gotta pick me up. You're gonna pick me up and take me to a sprint car race. You're gonna take me to a sprint car race." And I tell him all the time, "Well, just get your dad to go run Puntmanville and Bloomington and Hobstadt, and you get to see sprint cars." He's like, "Dad ain't going up there." So
yeah.
The travel, you said, you're not racing as much as you once did. The travel, the cost, as a guy that builds race cars, I mean, more than anybody else what this stuff costs. And, the price to play anymore is, where do you think dirt modified racing and dirt track racing is, and where it's going? Because you're a guy on both sides of it. You're a driver, and you're also trying to run a chassis business, and and provide for your family through racing. So what do you think exactly how this is going to go forward?
I think a lot of that has to do with the area or something that you're in. I was talking to a well-known promoter in Kentucky probably close to 10 years ago, and we made a prediction then that in 4 to 5 years, everything local would be crates. And it's took a little longer. Obviously, the late models started kicking in there a little quicker. I think you're probably going to end up seeing that happen with the mods. So I don't know that anybody knows the answers right now. I feel bad for. I don't care if you're a team owner or you're a race team or you are a promoter. I feel bad for people in the sport at the moment.
Yeah, I get that, and here's another thing too. Like, I know a lot of people say, oh, crate racing is terrible. Crate racing is this. I get both sides of it, but if it's policed right, the IMCA world can show you it can be done, and it can be competitive, and it can be, you get good car counts. The fans in the stands, most of them know, but if they're racing side by side, do they really care if it's got an $8,000 motor in it or a $50,000 motor? No. But the main thing is it's got to be policed.
Yeah, good racing for the fans is going to put the fans in the stands. Now, me being old and I like speed, I'm not a big fan of the crate, and I'm personally, I won't be racing a crate.
Yeah, well, I get that. Yeah.
So, I like the part of racing is you got too much motor and you're controlling the throttle, and you're not running wide open, so to say, a lot more than normal. But hey, whatever it takes for racing to survive, I'm all for it.
Well, let me ask you this, since we'll segue into this. You're talking about, throttle control and, not being able to use all your engine. How about, do you think, guys, I know this is going to sound bad because, he builds race cars, but do you think the race cars are too stuck? Do you think that we need, shock rules? Just so to speak, keep the right front off the track. And do you think that that's the rate we need to go to get back to having too much motor? Because right now in the modifieds, even though you got an 8-inch tire, you can't have too much motor because every one of them hook up anymore.
Well, they've let this go so far. There's no going back. There's going to be going back at some point because they're going to say,
yeah, but right now they're late models without fenders. So.
Yeah, they're going to say, well, they're either not going to have you or they're going to pay you so small you can't go. Yeah. So it's hard to take stuff back. It should have been starting that 10 years ago. I'm talking about. Yeah. Then anything's only as good as whatever rules are only as good as they're enforced.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, I know a lot of people, they hate on certain aspects of racing. And, here's the thing. If the rules are enforced, it doesn't matter what the rule is. If it's enforced and it's the same for everybody, the racing is going to be better regardless. It doesn't matter if you got a 39-inch deck height rule, 44-inch. None of that makes a difference. But what makes a difference is if let's just say the body rule's 65 inches and you got a car showing up as 80 inches with a scoop in the side that's getting downforced. So, there can always be changes to make racing better, or I'm not even going to say make racing better. I'm just going to say, changes to prevent it from getting more extreme than what it already is.
Yeah, you made mention to the IMCA stuff, and I don't have a lot of experience with that, but back around 2008, I traveled up to the North Dakota Modified Tour with Dwayne Ragland, and we kind of spent a little 2-week spell up there and over into Canada and stuff. And you want to talk about some rules. If you're in the top 3 of that, boys, be prepared to stay a while when it's over. Yep. And that keeps stuff in check. And those guys didn't care that it took an hour or two afterwards. If you wanted to go the next night, you was there staying.
Well, Kurt, my co-host, and I, we've been to the IMCA Super Nationals 4 times. And, like, literally, when the feature is over, they pull the carburetor off, pull the valve cover off. Like, if you try to do that around here, people would flip their shit. They're like, no, what? No. But, that's just a habit. That's just, and the drivers don't care because they know the product. What, they know what the answer is. You're not just gonna and just scrap the crate engine. Let's just scrap, like, not even talk about that. But if you got a shock rule, and a no bump stop rule, and it's easy to police. It's just I feel a lot of, especially on the local level, they just the promoters are first off, they're worrying about, are they going to make enough money to stay open tonight? Are they who's fighting who in the pits? It's already 2 a.m. So I get it, but you got to find a happy medium.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. When I first started racing mods and we'd be at Bluegrass Speedway, they would be 35, 40 mods on a regular night. And, this is me kind of taking up for the promoters a little bit. Now at a good regular local show, you've got 12 to 16. Yeah. So they're not wanting to run anybody off. Yeah. So, it's a catch-22.
Well, I get it. You can't. I mean, if you got 15 people, you got 15 cars, and say each car brings 5 people, and you piss off 5 of them, I mean, you're down 25 people for the night. So
right.
I mean, and some of these tracks are, it's a matter of 10 people if they survive or not that night. So I get it. I mean, I understand, but in order to be, better of the sport, what do you think actually needs to be done? You're not a promoter, but you're in the racing loop more than 90% of the people are. I mean, you're driving, you're building cars. So if Bryan Barber could fix open wheel modified racing right now, what would it be?
Well, I don't know that I have that answer. I think there's a lot of things that could be done. And I don't, just talking with the industry and just kind of knowing it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to hurt someone. So if we make motor rules, we're going to hurt motor builders. If we make shock rules, we're going to hurt shock builders. If we do a tire rule, we're going to hurt tire sales. There's so much in this game that, on the outside looking in, people thinks, well, that's easy. Why don't they do this or why don't they do that? But what they don't see is what goes on behind the scenes and how much influence that certain vendors and certain people in this sport have on the sport overall. That's far further and deeper than anybody realizes, or some people realize.
Yeah, well, there's an old saying, it always comes back to green, and it does. I mean, racing is a hobby for 90% of the people involved, but for someone like you, it's not a hobby. I mean, that's a way of life. You put food on the table because of race cars. So that's what I said. I know it's kind of a hard question to ask a car builder, like, how can we fix this? Because then you got people, well, I mean, why we want to get a car from him? He's saying do this, do that. So I get it. But I mean, racing isn't as healthy locally, but the bigger shows now seem to be doing better than they ever had. So like, I don't know where the equal balance is, because the answer used to be pay the most money and they'll show up. That's not the answer anymore. Guys go and race where they want to race. It doesn't matter. You can have a $5,000 to win show here. 30 miles down the road, you can have a $1,000 to win show. The $1,000 to win show may have 24 cars, and the $5,000 to win show has 15, because people don't like racing that style of track. So I really don't know what the answer is either.
Yeah, here locally, if I was a promoter,
first off, if you was a promoter, you have less hair than you do now.
And first off, I would never handle that because my blood pressure wouldn't allow for it. But I would be, that I would assume maybe some promoters feel like that's a competition with other tracks, just like I do with competitors that I compete against on the track. But we're in a place that we're going to have to start working together and being smarter. So when you got less and less to choose from, I feel like there's got to be a way to be smarter about it where everybody still benefits.
I understand exactly what you're saying, because I've been on record saying this all the time. If you race within the same state, or not even the same state, I mean, you could be Kentucky and Tennessee right there by each other. If you're within 100 miles, if you own a racetrack within 100 miles of another racetrack, you guys need to be in somewhat of a working relationship, because it's not like it used to be. There's not, I come down the back roads coming here to your shop. You used to see race cars sitting around in fields and stuff all the time. You don't see that no more. So there's fewer and fewer drivers. There's fewer and fewer tracks, and now tracks and fans are putting them, putting people against each other. And I don't, I'm for the betterment of the sport. I don't want racing to go away. I mean, I travel all over the country. I mean, hell, your son Jackson learned a valuable lesson with me, a few months back. He said, "Hey, we're not racing tonight. Can I go to the races with you?" And I said, "Yeah." So we were heading to Spring City, Tennessee for the Cumberland Plateau race, and we got rained out. And Jackson was heartbroken. Man, what are we going to do? I said, "You're going to call your dad and tell him that we're going to Sonoya, Georgia, because we're going to watch the Hunt to Front." And we get down there, and of course we get hit by a tornado. And And then, you know, Jackson's, I know you guys done a good job raising your kid when he says, I need to call home and let him know I'm going to stay the night. I said, okay. He goes, well, I'm going to call my dad and let him know, but I'm going to call my mom and ask. So I'm for the betterment of the sport. I want the sport to be good for everybody. But, I mean, in actuality, honestly, it's probably never going to be what it once was. It's kind of like everything in the world right now. I mean, people talk about college basketball. How come, I know you're an avid UK fan. How come, Cal couldn't win these games, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's never going to be what it once was, but we also can't lose it, going forwards too.
Yeah, that's right. It's we're in trying times, and it's a lot of people, they don't know what's coming, what it's going to be, and I think everybody's just trying to come to grips with, how much everything costs right now. That's something that, I see people say this all the time, and I'm a racer, so I get where they're coming from is, they're paying the same purses as they did in the 90s or blah, blah, blah. You hear all that, but we don't realize either what those promoters go through and how much insurance costs are and just the daily working cost of all this stuff. It doesn't just affect us when we're at the grocery store or the gas station. It's everything and it's everybody. So, I try to be as respectful and thoughtful of everybody, and until you put yourself in somebody else's shoes and try to look at it from their side, most people's opinions are just biased towards what they feel it needs to be to suit them.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've said this all along. I used to coach high school basketball, and, everybody wants what's best for them, but they don't want what's best for, the sport in general. And it's like that in everything. Like, I mean, hell, you want to sell 200 race cars a year if you can. I mean, but, that at one time you could, but like, right now that's, first off, manpower wise, that's not doable. You and your dad's getting older. And second off, it's just the times have changed. And when times change, it's hard for everybody to deal with. But, and here's what's really funny. When we got started, Bryan said, there's no way you're going to get 30 minutes out of me. We're 32 minutes into this, okay? And I could go on and on and on. But, we're going to wind it down here, though. But, so end all be all, Bandit Race Cars isn't going anywhere. Bryan Barber's still going to be around the racetrack. And for the guys in the Central Kentucky area, watch out, because it sounds like Jackson Barber is going to be in a car in a couple of years. And I play video games with this kid. There's a good chance you're going to get stuck in the fence, okay?
He's a little wilder than me?
Oh, yeah. No, he's a lot wilder than you. If he rolls in on the bottom, you're getting spun. So. But no, all jokes aside, though, I really appreciate you doing this. Like I said, this is a new venture that I'm trying. Since I don't race anymore. So I'm still trying to stay involved in the sport, and I started announcing, and I still build cars and do bodies, and so I get that the work aspect of it. Hell, one of your drivers keeps me plenty busy enough, anyways, knocking shit off all the time. But all jokes aside, though, I mean, I really appreciate you being loyal to the modifieds. A lot of people know that. I'm associated. Everybody's like that. Bobby, he's a modified guy, and I am. But I'm also an avid sprint car fan, and I love late model racing. I love all racing, but modified is still blue collar racing. It's still the guys that go to work every week and show up and bust their ass. And a lot of times there's guys out here that spend lunch money to get to the racetrack. It's still modified racing. I tell people this all the time. Modified racing is what the old super late model racer was. And, the old modified drivers are the guys that's in the Hornets now. It's not the street stock guys, because those guys are just buying parts because they want to go racing. But the guys in the Hornets, they go to the scrapyard and they're getting parts and making everything work. And that's what modifieds actually started out as. So, I appreciate you being a modified guy. I kind of wish you would have got, a little more of a chance in a late model, because back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was there was you and Victor Lee, but there was, and Benji Lacrosse, but you guys were really, really talented, but I really, really thought you were going to be a guy that kind of broke out, went on the national tour, and just, it never materialized. And and like you said, that's not even a bad thing. You kind of enjoyed what you're doing. So, as a fan, as a former racer, and as a guy who's built cars and raced the cars that he raced, I have respect for what you and your dad do here, because, I've done that shit. It's too hard. It made me dislike the sport of racing. Not dislike it because I love it, but it made me decide that, I'd rather just kind of hang out. So, I have great respect for what you guys do.
Yeah, if you're out on the road doing this stuff a lot and you are still working and trying to make a living, you've got to accept two things. There's no such thing as consistency, and you better not like to sleep very much.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're not tough enough to understand that, you're not cut out for it.
Yeah, no, there's been many nights I've come home and hell, I've actually dropped my wife off at work on the way in, because I've always could kind of make my schedule, so to speak. So there's been many times I've dropped her off on the way in because I raced in God's country the night before, and so I get it. And like I said, I really appreciate you doing this, and hopefully the country itself, everything goes in the right direction, and all is right in the racing world, because we need places like Bandit race cars and master built race cars, and there's a lot of places like you guys were turning out crazy amount of cars, and you still do your fair share, but you're not doing what you once did. And you and Butch have also said you don't want to do what you once did. It was almost too hard.
Yeah, no, it's perfectly here. What we're doing now is where I wanted to, to scale back to something that's manageable. And, I work a full-time job now, so it's a hard balance. I still work a whole lot. And in order to make it all go round, that's just what it's got to be. Dad will be 73 in November, and he does well, is probably in as good as health as me.
I'm not trying to fight him.
Yeah, right.
He's in there working out, looking good.
But reality of things is we all slow down, and I'm to a point, and I don't have the energy to travel 1,000 miles a weekend and race 3 nights and come home and work 70 hours a week or 80 and 90 and go do it again. That don't even interest me no more.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. But like I said,
yes, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. It's awesome what you're doing. It's cool to see people that do things like this in the sport, and I love to see people that's involved with it, and stuff like this is good. It's good for the sport.
Well, that's what I said. That was one of our main goals getting into this, is because, if it's happened at the racetrack, I've probably seen it. Like I said, I've been to, there's been 10 years before, that I've gone to the racetrack over 100 nights that year. So there's guys say, well, I've raced for 10 years. Like, yeah, you raced 16 nights. It's 160 nights. I did that last summer. So, not that that makes me better than you or anything like that, but we're to the point where we're trying. Kurt and I, we're trying to give back. We're trying to do some. Trying to like when we started this podcast. That's what I said. I'm going to get builders. I'm going to get drivers. I'm going to get announcers. I'm even going to get fans. I know people. I got a friend of mine that lives in Illinois. He goes, since he's retired, he goes to about 100 races a year. So I'm gonna interview him, because hell, he knows just as much about sleeping in the car, making it in the next night. So, And I promise you're going to hate this one day, but Jackson asked if he could co-host a show. So one day I'm going to come back down here at Bandit Race Cars, and we can all bully Jackson that night. But guys, thanks again for having Bryan Barber on the show. And if you guys need anything, Bandit Race Cars, look him up on Facebook. They sell parts. He still does bodies. He's got a hell, we're sitting at the body table right now doing this interview. So there's sheet metal brakes around us, slip rollers, whatever you need. Get a hold of Bryan Barber and Butch at Bandit Race Cars, and they'll get you taken care of. And thank you, Bryan, for doing this.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was our deep dive session with Bryan Barber and Bandit Race Cars. And Flash Bryan, he's that was a fascinating conversation there. Talked about, his career and how his dad, takes care of, that's his dad's dream. And,
right.
It may sound to some people as, Bryan's just hanging on at the end of his career, but it's nothing like that. I think he's just ready to move on to the next phase of it.
I understand that too, because it's like me and my dad. When I got the late model, he wanted to go racing when we could, so that's what we did. I didn't race just because my dad wanted to, but that was a big influence on why I did want to run the late model. So
like I said, Bryan, he's really looking forward into being a crew chief. Especially for his son Jackson. And when Jackson gets in a race car, watch out.
Yeah.
He's a great kid, but man, he's a bat out of hell. As his career is winding down, he's looking forward to moving on to the next step, and that's what we do these conversations for. We're not trying to do your cookie cutter interviews. We just want to talk to racers about racing and.
Some of the real aspects of it that, not just we don't want to ask all the same questions that everybody else asks,
this is kind of where I'm going with this. Like, if you're listening to this show because of, Bryan's going to be on, and you're listening to us, this kind of the way we look at it is, well, you already know who he is.
Yeah.
So we want the other side. We don't want everybody knows he drives a 10 car. Yeah. His cars always look good and he's bad fast.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. Well, I mean, we're not going to talk about his rap. You know
right,
what I'm saying? So, it was a really good interview. I really liked how Bryan was talking about, how, he was going to run the super late models more, but, and he had a kid on the way and he had to, do what's right for his family. And,
you gotta make those hard decisions sometimes.
Yeah. So, that was a really, really good interview. Guys, we're coming down to the end of this, like I said, show number 4. It's been a month now, Flash.
Yeah, I know. It's
crazy.
Pretty unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that, supports the show.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people tell us that they like it, and I haven't had nobody tell me they didn't like it yet, but Bobby's had a few more people talk to him.
I've had a couple people that's, not that they didn't like it, we just kind of hurt their feelings a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, that might happen.
Yeah, that's part of it. We apologize for nothing.
Yeah.
So, no, but all jokes aside, though, thank you for everybody who supports the show. We're on YouTube now.
Yeah.
We have a Twitter page now. I'm not very good at promoting all this and telling everybody.
Yeah.
But we have a Twitter page.
And if you see us sharing it and you get tired of it, sorry.
Yes.
Well, not sorry.
Not sorry. Here's the easiest way to get, if you get tired of seeing us sharing it, if you share it 5 times, it won't show up on your phone no more. So for you, go ahead and share it.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't really think it works that way, but we would appreciate it.
Sounded good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell, we could tell the kids that shit; they won't know no difference.
Yeah, that's right.
But big shout out once again to Speed Decals for sponsoring this show, and guys, another thing, if you want to sponsor a show, just reach out to us. All of our DMs are open. Everything's open. Just reach out and.
We're going to the races anyway, but if we can get your name on here and you can help us out, we can use gas money.
So, we're going anyways. We're going to get the interviews regardless. So,
either way, we're going to go anyway. So.
But we've had a bunch of people reach out, and like I said, we're really appreciative of it.
Yeah, we're doing this because we really like racing. Yep. I mean, all kinds of racing, and we like to get everybody's view, like sprint car guys. Late model guys, modified guys, street stock guys. We're going to do a little bit of everybody.
Yeah, we've got some interviews coming up. I don't want to say any names or anything because I don't know exactly what order we're going to have them. But we've got some interviews coming up, and you guys, it's going to open up a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
Not just in our area, nationwide.
Yeah.
About the cost, the travel, the work, the sacrifices from sprint car drivers, late model drivers. Maybe even some NASCAR type.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've got a lot of stuff in the works. But guys, the reason why we do this is to bring a different light, shed a different light pull the curtains back, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, you know, it may not be for everybody, and we understand that, but, you know, we really hope that you guys get something out of this. And, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, we're racers, so we kind of know how everything works, but we got people that listen that might not know, you know, driver. They might just think that you just show up at the racetrack with your race car and race, and we try to get some of the other stuff out of the guys, you know.
well, I'm glad you said that, because one of the interviews we got coming up, it's a promoter, and you know, he's made a couple of different business you know, ventures,
right,
and that's one of the things that we talk about is you know, how hard is it to step away from what you're doing every week to do something else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just think, like, pavement guys are like, well, they just show up on dirt and race.
Yeah.
They have no clue that you got to work on the track every night of the week.
Yeah.
I mean, as we was leaving Riverside last night, you know, here it is, 11:30 at night, we're leaving. They just had a 2-day show. Everybody's been to the racetrack. They have the World of Outlaws coming up this weekend. First, if you're within a 4 or 5 hour drive, 6, 7, 8, 10, go to Riverside this weekend and watch the World of Outlaws, because I promise you it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, yeah.
But as we were leaving, they were pushing the tires back in and, you know, bringing out equipment to turn the track over.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of stuff people don't see. I mean, like, hell, last night at Riverside, and, you know, the poor girls working the concession stands were working around the clock.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of aspects that a lot of people don't understand. You know, you're just fans and you show up, and, you know, everybody's got a complaint, but nobody has a solution.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're trying to bring the solution. We're trying to...
Well, just like we said in the stands last night, and the people behind us were like, oh, this place is going to be horrible tonight. They only put water on it one time.
Yeah.
And they probably didn't realize that they've been working on it for the whole, you know, ever since the race was over Friday night. They'd worked on it probably all night long to get it. And it never, not a speck of dust. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. There was not one speck of dust.
The only problem we had at Riverside the whole night was A, the bleachers.
Yeah.
B, the bleachers. And C, the bleachers.
Yeah.
Besides that, it was a good show.
Yeah.
And they have phenomenal bleachers. Actually, maybe one of the better bleachers in dirt track racing, because you sit up high enough that you don't got to worry about the person in front of you or anything. Negative is, it's like you're hiking up a damn mountain to get to the seats.
Yeah.
But with the way the sprint cars...
it was good, though. I mean,
with the way the sprint cars fly around there, it's probably a good thing you do set up so high.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But you guys, like I said, just, you know, tell everybody about us. You know, we're going to do the best we can. We're going to continue to do the best we can. And like I said, until next week, we'll be trading sliders.